Me and giving a good old Rocky Top welcome to former New York Mayor and Democratic candidate for president, Mike Bloomberg.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Well, I don't have to say anything else. He said it all. Love to have you vote for me, and have a nice evening. No. Great. Thank you for having me, wherever you are. I didn't grow up in a world where people invited me and said thanks and all that sort of thing. I grew up in a town, 60,000 people, Medford, Massachusetts, and the house I grew up in, still have. I moved there at age 4, left to go to college. My mother lived the rest of her life there. She lived to 102. And if you call the house right now, she's still on the answering machine. So, and every once in a while, I just call. It's nice to hear her voice. Anyways, it's too bad I missed the most wonderful time of the year here. And I meant the college football season, which means a lot more to you than it does if you live in New York City, where we have some teams. Our teams, professional teams, aren't doing all that well, in case you hadn't noticed. Jets, Giants, Knicks, Nets, they're all the same. Unfortunately, I grew up in Boston, so people think I'm a Patriots fan, but the Patriots weren't there when I grew up, so. But I was a Colts fan. I went to school in Baltimore, and Johnny Unitas and Alan Amici, for those of you that are my age, you remember these guys. Anyways, the Vols won, so that's Blue Jays. Thank you very much. I went to the Annapolis to play golf at Annapolis, and all of the lockers in the locker room have big N's on it. One had a Blue Jay. Blue Jay is the Johns Hopkins symbol, because the coach came from Hopkins, so that was great. Anyways, when I did go to 2 Giants games, both of them they played the Patriots. Both times they won the Super Bowl. Now, I don't know if there's a connection. I just want to point out I was the mayor both times. And anyways, it's great to be here in K-Town. And I just got a chance to have coffee with your new mayor, India Kincannon. And I will say she's been on the job for 3 or 4 weeks, and her daughters were there. And the vice mayor, or what I think that's the title she has, and it was a lot of fun talking to people. And you know, cities this size are the same as New York City. Everybody has similar problems. The scale may be different. Everybody wants something. Nobody wants to pay for it. Nobody ever says thank you to the mayor. I've learned that 12 years of all of that. Seriously, the mayor's a great job, and I loved being mayor in New York City, and I've had a chance to work with a lot of mayors. I am going to run for president of the United States. I suspect you don't get a lot of presidential candidates coming to Tennessee. In fact, what Ashford said, you don't. But I'm a big believer that this is the whole country, and I've tried to go to places where nobody else goes. I was in California. I went to Riverside, which is sort of in the middle of the state, and they pointed out nobody's ever gone to California and done anything other than a few cities along the coast. And I think that's a mistake, and that everybody deserves representation. And the heartland is what made America. I was in Minnesota the other day at a farm. They grow seed and soybeans, family-owned farm, 5,000 acres. The tractor was as big a thing as I've ever seen in my life. And it was 30-mile-an-hour winds and 0 degrees Fahrenheit. And I had to stand outside and do an interview with some reporter. You have no idea how cold it can be in Minnesota. Anyways, honored to come here. This is the 2nd trip to Tennessee since I started. We'll be here more. We have a whole bunch of offices we're opening around the state. Partly it's to listen, to find out what your problems are and what you want. Partly it's to try to explain what my philosophy is and my experience and what we would do if we were lucky enough to represent the country. Our team is going to grow here, and as Ashford said, staying here till November 3rd, when I hope we're going to send a Democrat to the White House. let me talk just a little bit of politics here. We're all here because we have to win this election. I don't have any question. And I am running to defeat Donald Trump. Now, back in 2016 in Philadelphia at the DNC convention, I said that I didn't think Donald Trump was the right guy for the job. I've known him for a long time. He's a developer in New York City. When I was mayor, we cut some ribbons together, took the subway together, and that sort of thing. But I know him very well, and whether you like him or not, he does not have the skill sets to be President of the United States. He doesn't work collaboratively. And I don't think we can survive another 4 years with him at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. I'm also running to unite this country. We have been divided for much too long, and I know how to fix things. I'm a problem solver. That's what I do in my company. That's what I did in the city. We need less talk. We need less partisanship. We need less tweeting. I promise you right now, I won't tweet from the White House. If that isn't a good reason to vote for me, I don't know what is. Seriously, this is a campaign for change and to return our country to sanity and honesty and inclusion and compassion and human decency. And it's just terrible when people don't talk to each other. If you go to a Senate office building, the Republicans and the Democrats won't even sit at the same table. How do we expect them to work together if they won't do that? And it's the president's job to try to bring people together. The president of the United States, once elected, should not be the president of a party. You're supposed to be president of the country and work for everybody. And that's what I would do. I have a record in New York City, you can certainly look it up, 12 years of doing things. And when I got there, I found, for example, that too many people didn't have health insurance. When I left, we had reduced the number of people that didn't have health insurance by 40%. We'd improved prenatal care and maternal care. And most importantly, we raised life expectancy in New York City by 3 whole years. Just think about that. 8.4 million people living on average 3 years longer. Now, if you don't like New Yorkers, that's not good, but that's okay. I do. When I got there, our school system just was not educating our kids. In this world where you're going to need more education as time goes on, our kids were falling further and further behind. First thing I did was raise teachers' salaries 43%. It was phased in over 12 years, but 43%, and graduation rates went up the same percentage. So we got what we paid for. Climate change. Climate change back then when I first came into office was an enormous problem. It's getting worse. You just look on television, you see Australia, you see California, the fires, you see 4 feet of rain at one place in Texas, you see the storms along the coast. The world's environment is changing, and we can't wait. We have to do something about it. And I'm proud to say that New York City reduced its greenhouse gases by 14%. And my foundation worked with the Sierra Club to reduce the number of coal-fired power plants in this country, including at the TVA. And we try to replace them with natural gas and with renewables. And greenhouse gases in the country have come down 18%. We have to get the rest of the world on board, but... And the last thing is, when I got into office, it was right after, 7 weeks after 9/11. And people were panicked, and they thought that we didn't have a future, and that there was no hope. When the 9/11 happened, there were 5 hotels downtown. When I left office, there were 25 hotels downtown. People didn't leave, quite the contrary. They came in, and downtown has a bustling nightlife, which it didn't have before, and there's virtually no empty space. If you get people to work together, and we were so lucky, the people of New York pulled together, the people of the country came to New York to help us, people from around the world came to help us. And we built 175,000 units of affordable housing during the next 12 years. We created 500,000 jobs during the next 12 years. We reduced homelessness by 30% around the city. So you can do things if you can just get people to work together. And I have nothing but great things to say about it. It wasn't me, it was the people of New York that really did it, and the staff that I put together. What I do is I get a team, and there's no I in team. Unfortunately, in Donald's, the way he spells the word, there's no T-E-A or M in team, but that's another thing. Look, getting things done starts with replacing Donald Trump. Yeah. And I've had a record of beating Donald Trump, because one of the things you have to think about when you vote is who has the experience to do the job, but also who is going to win the general election. And let me just tell you, every time I've fought Donald Trump, I think we've won. The gun lobby, he walked away from any rational restrictions. We should not sell guns to minors. We should not sell guns to people with criminal records. We should not sell guns to people with psychiatric problems. And he just walked away from a promise to do something about that. One day he said yes, and the next day he said no. But what we did is we fought the NRA. They are in trouble. They can't raise any money. Their management is in chaos. And the bottom line is I also created, incidentally, an organization, Everytown, which has 6 million members now, which goes and lobbies Congress and senators and then state representatives to put in the sensible background checks. Nobody's trying to take away anybody's guns. All you want to do is have the same restrictions on who you can sell guns to that exist right now in federal law for gun stores. You can't sell in a gun store to a minor or somebody with psychiatric problems or a criminal record. But you can do it because that law does not cover internet sales and gun show sales. And so all we're trying to do is to get people to change there, and you would bring down the death rate dramatically. This year, 19,000 people will commit suicide with illegal handguns. 12,000 will get murdered with illegal handguns. We just got to do better, folks. This is not trying to take away anybody's life. It's just being common sense. But once again, it's an example, I think, of how you can beat Donald Trump. He's a climate denier. We've closed 302, because it just went up 2 today, 302 out of 530 coal-fired power plants, and we've created a lot of jobs in solar and in wind. Trump's caved to the tobacco industry. We fought him. You just cannot have another generation of kids hooked on vaping, which is even worse than cigarettes. We had made enormous progress in getting kids to stop smoking, but now all of a sudden the tobacco industry has come back and reversing a lot of that damage done. So we've just got to do something. Let me just tell you, if you want health insurance for everyone, if you want to combat inequality and you want fairer taxes and better jobs, if you share my belief in opportunity for all and not just for a few, if you support my commitment to quality education, I would just ask you, if you want to clean out the Oval Office, please, welcome to Bloomberg 2020, and thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'll come around and shake some hands.